We seized this video as evidence from the cell phone recovered from the car which was driven by Michael Zihaf Bibo after he murdered Corporal Cirillo and then stormed the grounds of this Parliament armed with a rifle. Of course, we all know he was killed by our brave RCMP and parliamentary security personnel, including the Sergeant-at-Arms who actively pursued him inside. I would also like to update Parliament and through you, Canadians, on the state of our investigative response to this unprecedented attack on our Parliament. Firstly, permit me to say clearly that the RCMP is engaged in an active criminal investigation to either establish or refute whether anyone aided, abetted, facilitated, counseled, or conspired with Zihaf Bibo to commit the crimes he did. Let me also say that if Zihaf Bibo had not been killed but rather taken into custody, we would have charged him with terrorist offenses. The Criminal Code provides the definition for terrorist activity at Section 83.01, Sub 1, Sub B. The RCMP believes on the evidence that Zihaf Bibo was a terrorist. Anyone who aided him, abetted him, counseled him, facilitated his crimes, or conspired with him is also, in our view, a terrorist, and where the evidence exists, we will charge them with terrorist offenses. It's not relevant to us or our investigation what kind of a terrorist Zihaf Bibo was, or if he was a particularly intelligent, sophisticated, influential, or personally disciplined terrorist. To us, it all turns on the evidence we collect, which we compare against the statute. What was he doing, and why was he doing it? The RCMP is not, nor should we be, in the habit of publicly discussing evidence or evidence collection during an active investigation. The RCMP asserts and zealously defends its operational independence in the conduct of its affairs. I am departing slightly from that practice in this case, having regard for the enormous public interest attached to this case and this committee's request of me. A bit about this video now and what accounts for the delay between October 2014 and today. I first learned about the video when I was briefed on its discovery during the forensic examination of the cell phone seized from the suspect's vehicle. It was the Sunday following the attack. I directed that a press release be issued that day. My thinking was that announcing the existence of the video would, while we were examining and assessing it, ensure against any subsequent criticism that we were concealing the existence of this evidence. What followed were dynamic discussions within the RCMP about the evidentiary value and the operational utility of this video. We had also to carefully consider what impact its public release could have, not only on this investigation, but what impact it might have on others. We weighed the video's release against the knowledge that it could serve to further radicalize and ultimately incite more violence. We considered that the video will be used by terrorist elements and sympathizers to facilitate recruitment, financing, and action. On this point, we remain concerned, but frankly speaking, that's not our place, it's not our role. But as one of my officers put it to me, if not us, then who? We have the video, and I think it's a fair question. This video is plainly evidence. Of that, there is no question. But just what criminality it is evidence of can only ultimately be decided by a court having jurisdiction to weigh and assess it. We aren't there yet, and so we in the RCMP have to ask ourselves how we can maximize its utility and probity at bringing forward a criminal case, if ever we do. Initially, I was inclined to release the video in its entirety, but I was persuaded by the operational decision makers in the investigation not to do so. Even today, as I show you the video, I must point out that it is not the entire video. There are a total of 18 seconds edited from the beginning and the end of the video, 13 seconds at the beginning and 5 at the end. I am satisfied that there are reasonable and sound operational reasons for these edits, and you will no doubt want to understand these reasons too. Unfortunately, for the very same reasons we have edited the video, I cannot explain to you at this point why we have done so. It is not lost on me either that the government is bringing forward new laws to strengthen the fight against terrorism. The release of this video at this time could be seen as seeking to influence that process. I assure you, I have no such motive. The video speaks for itself. It is what it is. You must understand that I have teams of dedicated professional investigators and specialists working tirelessly to pursue this very case to its conclusion. And it's in everybody's interest to let them do what they do best, investigate. Through our inset structure, the RCMP has over 130 full-time investigators and staff presently working on this case. We've interviewed over 400 individuals, from the people he associated with in British Columbia to the people he rode the Greyhound bus with, to the people who saw him at the shelter in Ottawa. We know now that Zihaf Bibo became increasingly aligned with terrorist ideology in the last years of his life while living in the lower mainland of British Columbia and, for a short period, in Alberta. We know that in August 2014, he applied for a Canadian passport at a Vancouver location where he was later informed that a passport would not immediately be forthcoming and that his application was subject to further review. Beginning on September 23rd and continuing to October 2nd, Zihaf Bibo made his way to Ottawa by hitchhiking and traveling on a Greyhound bus. During at least one leg of the bus trip, he told other passengers that his purpose for traveling to Ottawa was to secure a passport. We now know that within 2 hours of arriving in Ottawa, Zihaf Bibo went to the Libyan embassy to renew his then expired Libyan passport. He was a dual national. He was told that his application would have to be sent to Libya due to discrepancies in identification documents. This process was expected to take 3 to 4 weeks to resolve. 2 days later, on October 4th, surveillance cameras on Parliament Hill captured Zihaf Bibo on the grounds as he took a guided tour of Centre Block. From our review of the video and speaking to people on the Hill that day, there was nothing remarkable about his participation in that tour that ought to have led either RCMP members deployed on the Hill or other security personnel to be suspicious of his presence. Throughout his time in Ottawa, Zihaf Bibo used publicly available internet and payphones in various locations across the city. We now know that he used this as a means to stay in contact with individuals both in the Ottawa region and in British Columbia. We have been able to identify some of these individuals, and we continue to pursue this avenue. We have a full understanding of his finances and the disbursements he made prior to this attack. On the days leading up to October 22nd, Zihaf Bibo made arrangements to buy a car. On October 21st, he finalized the deal and used cash to purchase the vehicle. Upon taking possession, he drove to Mont-Tremblant to visit a relative where he was seen with a long knife. Very early the next morning, October 22nd, he was observed by witnesses placing a rifle in the trunk of his car. Hours later, he shot and killed Corporal Cirillo, got back in his car, and then stormed Parliament. I've shared with you his approach to this building. We have not been able to confirm the origins of the gun. We are releasing a photo of the gun, which seems unique, in the hopes that someone might recognize it. I can confirm that he had a long knife tied to his wrist when he was killed. We did not find any other guns or weapons in his car, among his possessions, or at any of the other locations we now know he visited in the hours leading up to the attack. I have been advised that he was shot many, many times. Exactly how many times I can't say because I don't know. We await the detailed findings of the OPP who were engaged to independently conduct the police-involved shooting inside Parliament. The video from inside this building forms part of that line of inquiry and is with the OPP. I can confirm that the autopsy report, or the toxicology screen on Zihaf Bibo's remains, was negative for drugs and alcohol. Neither did we uncover any evidence of drug or alcohol use by him in the period leading up to his attack. It was during the search of his vehicle following the attack that we found Zihaf Bibo's mobile phone. Our forensic analysis, which began immediately and progressed quickly, revealed the video. we have been able to determine with exact precision the time and location where Zihaf Bibo made this video. As you will see in a moment, Zihaf Bibo filmed himself in his car with the phone immediately prior to the attack at the National War Memorial. We have established that he did this while parked at a lot near 464 Metcalfe Street. He looks directly into the camera, appears very purposeful and lucid, and talks about his motivations for the attack to come. The audio is not great. It is sufficient, though, to understand what he says. Here is a transcript in both languages of what he says. Well, I'll be at your disposal to answer any questions I can, having regard for the ongoing nature of this case. Here's the video.
For those who are involved in listening to this movie, this is a retaliation for Afghanistan and because Harper wants to send troops to Iraq. So we are retaliating. The Mujahideen of this world, Canada's officially become one of our enemies by fighting and bombing us and creating a lot of terror in our countries and killing us and killing our innocents. So just aiming to hit some soldiers just to show you that you're not even safe in your own land. You got to be careful. So may Allah accept from us. It's a disgrace. You guys have forgotten God and have you met every indecency and things run in your land. We don't go for this. We are good people, righteous people, believers of God, and believe in His laws and His prophets, peace be upon them all. So that's my message to all of you, and this, inshallah, will not cease till you guys decide to be a peaceful country and stay to your own and stop going to other countries and stop occupying and killing the righteous of us who are trying to bring back religious law in our countries. Thank you.
That concludes my presentation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Paul.